Morning's meeting to order. Phyllis, will you please call the roll and establish quorum?
Curator Burnsick? Here. Curator Graves?
Here.
Curator Hobaruck?
Here.
Curator Holloway?
Here.
Vice Chair Winiker?
Here.
Curator Lehman?
Here.
Curator Williams? Curator Winiker, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's board meeting, our first of 2023. A few opening comments. Chair Williams regrets that he could not be here today, and we look forward to seeing him in April at Missouri S&T. Additionally, I would like to thank Daryl Chapman on behalf of the Board of Curators for his distinguished service to the University of Missouri system. Daryl recently stepped down from the board. We wish him well, and we look forward to seeing him again soon. And last, a thank you to President Choi and the University of Missouri for hosting us. To begin our meeting today, I would like to ask Curator Hobaruck to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Could we all stand, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Curator Hobaruck. For our first matter of business, I would entertain a motion and a second from the board to move into an executive session later today.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Phyllis, did you get both of those? Great, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Phyllis, please call the roll.
Curator Burnsick?
Phyllis, can you move your mic a little closer?
Oh,
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
And.
Curator Burnsick?
Yes.
Curator Graves?
Yes.
Curator Hobaruck?
Yes.
Curator Holloway?
Yes.
Curator Lehman?
Yes.
Vice Chair Winiker?
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, we're going to now have our first, the board chair's report. I'm going to move to the podium, and if we could have the Curators Distinguished Professors, this will be your opportunity to come forward. Valerie's going to help bring you up. Okay, so this morning on behalf of Chair Williams, it's my pleasure to introduce the Curators Distinguished Professors from Mizzou on behalf of the board. As newly named Curators Distinguished Professors, these prestigious scholars have established reputations that are truly outstanding in their fields. As I call each of your names, please come forward. First is Dr. Hongpin Bill Ma. You want to come on up? Dr. Ma is the chair of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering and the director of the Multi-Physics Energy Research Center. He is also the Glenn A. Barton Professor and an expert in the development of advanced cooling of semiconductors and materials used in space and hypersonic vehicles. Dr. Ma's research has an incredible impact on the economy and national security. He has been awarded $8.2 million in grant funding and has 7 patents, with another 8 pending. He has been elected to the National Academy of Inventors and is a fellow with the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. Dr. Bob, thank you. Congratulations. Next up is Dr. Ron Mittler. Dr. Mittler. Dr. Mittler is a professor of plant science and technology and has published over 170 peer-reviewed articles. His work has been cited more than 63,000 times, and he's been awarded $10 million in grant funding from the National Science Foundation, with $2.6 million of that just in 2021. He's among the top scholars in his field, ranking exceptionally high compared with national and AAU peers. Congratulations, Dr.
Sorry, you don't want.
You need another one? I'm sorry, Dr. I didn't pose right. It's on me. Great, thank you. Our next distinguished professor is Dr. Rajiv Mohan, professor of ophthalmology. Dr. Mohan's work with nanomedicine therapies to treat or reverse corneal fibrosis and scarring is serving as a foundation for the study of other tissues in humans and animals. He has authored over 150 peer-reviewed manuscripts and book chapters, and he's received funding from the NIH, the VA, and the Department of Defense. leading to over $20 million in funding since he has come to Mizzou in 2006. Dr. Mohan is also considered among the top scholars in his field compared to national and AAU scholars. We haven't done that for everybody else.
We can shake hands.
We can. Love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Kanapin Paliniappan, or as most people know him as Pal. I will tell you, I know I didn't do it perfectly, I tried. Dr. Paliniappan is a professor of electrical engineering and computer science and a leading pioneer in developing computer vision, AI, and deep learning techniques. This has a range of interdisciplinary applications for the fields of science, medicine, and engineering. He has been awarded more than $30 million in grants and ranks among the most productive scholars in computer science, computer engineering, and electrical engineering. He's published over 300 peer-reviewed works. Dr. Paliniappan also has the distinction of being Missouri's first ever recipient of the National Academy of Sciences Jefferson Fellowship, as well as being awarded with the NASA Public Service Medal. Congratulations. You got it? Thank you. Dr. Tommy Sewell, I don't believe is here today. Okay. Dr. Tommy Sewell is our next Curators Distinguished Professor. He is unable to be in attendance, but we would like to recognize him. Dr. Sewell is a professor of chemistry, and his research draws on chemistry, physics, and materials science with applications for mechanical engineering. He's serving as the primary investigator on the new $7.5 million multidisciplinary University Research Initiatives grant from the Department of Defense and is the co-director of the new MU Materials Science and Engineering Institute. Dr. Sewell is also a fellow of the American Physical Society. Finally, if Dr. Johan Kauston could come forward on behalf of Dr. Dorina Kauston. Dorina is tragically no longer with us. She has gone far too soon. I speak for the whole Board of Curators in saying how sorry we are for your loss. Thank you for coming today to accept this award on Dorina's behalf. Dr. Dorina Kauston was named a Curators Distinguished Teaching Professor last fall and was notified at that time as well. She was the Associate Chair of Physics and Astronomy in MU's College of Arts and Science. Her introductory physics courses always had high enrollment, and she was a highly respected educator, focusing on implementing active and collaborative teaching methods. She earned $9 million in grant funding as co-PI on 3 major teaching grants, including $5 million from the National Science Foundation designed to provide professional development to high school teachers. Dr. Kauston's teaching was widely recognized, earning her awards and distinctions at the university, system, state, regional, and national levels. It's an honor to remember her legacy. And I want to congratulate all of our new Curators Distinguished Professors from Mizzou today. One more round of applause for all of them. It's professors like each of you that bring such prestige to our university. Recognizing those efforts is what these distinguished awards are all about. On behalf of the Board of Curators, congratulations. These awards are well earned. I'll now turn it over to President Choi for his report.
Well, thank you very much, Curator Winokur, and we're very proud of the outstanding work done by our faculty members, staff, and as well as our students in advancing the mission of the university. If I can have the next slide, please. This is a picture from the State of the State address this year, and I want to thank Governor Parson, as well as members of the House and the Senate, for their strong support of the University of Missouri system. As you can see from this slide, in the governor's budget, there is a 7% increase in funding for core funding for the UM system. In addition to that, there is significant funds available for capital projects for all 4 universities. Those numbers that you see, the $53 million for MU, $25 million for S&T, and $20 million for UMKC and UMSO, are expected to be repeated the following year as a second installment of that investment. We're very proud of the fact that the state legislature and the governor see the value in the higher education programs that we offer. The graph that you see on the bottom shows the total support for the University of Missouri system over the years. This year, with the proposed budget, we expect $490 million from the state. If you compare that to 2020, when we received $360 million, you can see the significant value of permanent funding provided to the University of Missouri system. In addition, our faculty members and administrators at all 4 universities work closely with legislators, federal legislators, to help bring in very important projects through the congressionally directed sponsor programs, as well as report language. The total value of this is over $200 million. We want to thank former Senator Roy Blunt, as well as Representative Blaine Luetkemeyer, for their very strong support for projects that range from next-gen precision health to manufacturing initiatives, as well as the campus of the future that we envision for all 4 universities. In terms of the admissions update, as you can see from this slide here, there has been a significant increase in the application for first-time college students at all 4 universities. This is very important given the demographic trends that we're seeing not only in this state, but also surrounding states. From this, we gather the freshman students that have accepted with deposits. And what you see are the numbers, and in parentheses, the percent increases for each of the universities. And at Mizzou, there is a 11% increase. Now, this is still early in the process, but that's promising. At UMKC, 1%. And at S&T, Chancellor Degani shared with me that they are quickly going through the applications to admissions to accepted students, so we expect to see a significant increase. And at UMSL, a 210%, very significant increase in their student accepts. Similar numbers for applications for transfer students. Transfer students are critically important to our universities. There's a slight decline at Mizzou, but all 3 other universities have seen an increase. And on the acceptances, the trend remains a 3% reduction at Mizzou, but the other universities have seen very close to double-digit growth. And so these are very promising numbers. Now, students are coming to the University of Missouri because of the success that they can expect, whether it's in terms of graduation rates or experiential learning and other very important opportunities that we offer as the public research universities in the state of Missouri. As you can see from this slide, we have Niera Savage from UMSL, who is completing a NPR Newsroom Fellowship at KCUR, and her goal is to integrate journalism, education, and mental health and serve the community. Santiago Bass is a graduate student in the School of Music, and he was attracted to our university because of the significant investments made in the new composition program by the School of Music and the Singfield family. Christian Dang plans to go to medical school after completing his very prestigious NIH post-baccalaureate fellowship. And at the bottom right, we see engineering students from the engineering management program at S&T that have received the first place in the case studies program. The engineering management program is highly regarded at S&T, and it's one of the programs that attracts many out-of-state students to that institution. This is a slide that shows the leading indicators for research. And as you can see from this slide, all 4 universities have seen growth, and those numbers that you see as percentages increased compared to 2022, compared to 2016. And these are very, very positive trends given the competitive nature of funded programs. So these are the proposals, leading indicators. In terms of expenditures, those are all very positive trends for our universities. Now, these are measurements from the beginning of the fiscal year until end of January, but this goes to show that our faculty members are competitive nationally and that they're doing very important work. The next slide shows the federal expenditures, which indicate by proxy the highest quality projects that are peer-reviewed by NSF, NIH, DOD, and you can also see, similar to the proposals, that these are showing very nice increases over the years. And our faculty members are nationally competitive, as you saw in the previous slides, based on their research success. Just recently, the AAAS, which is the American Association for Advancement of Science, not selected 6 of our faculty members for the very prestigious fellow status. And we have 5 faculty members from MU and 1 faculty member from S&T. And all 4 chancellors have high priority investments so that we can have more of our faculty members nominated so that they can receive such distinguished recognition. In terms of major grants, at Mizzou, you may recall that we shared the news that Professor Rob Myers received a $25 million grant, and this is a follow-on grant, another $10 million that is used to better understand how cover crops can provide longer extended approaches so that we can have more efficient farming and to have higher yields and also have a more positive impact on the environment. We're very proud of Professor Myers and the plant science program at Kaffner. At UMSL, Dr. Natalie Bolton and her colleagues received $4 million from the James McDonald Foundation, and this program is really taking the work that UMSL does in the School of Education and extending it. This is another example of the outreach and extension that results from the research and teaching that we provide at the university. This is one of the largest grants that the University of Missouri System University has received from the McDonald Foundation. At Missouri S&T, Dr. Serhat Hosder received $1.5 million to develop new and advanced computational modeling for hypersonic vehicles. Hypersonic vehicles are required more and more because of the dangers that we face because of foreign intrusion into our airspace that you recently saw, as well as the hypersonic missiles that are being developed by our adversaries throughout the world. So our goal, his goal, is to develop the type of computational modeling so that we can have more advanced hypersonic systems to better protect the U.S. Frontiers. Last but not least, this is Professor David Trowbridge, who's working with the NEH and received a grant to develop new ways of telling the story of the historical value of Missouri and the Kansas City region, and then archiving that into websites that can be viewed by millions throughout the United States. In terms of philanthropy, over the past few years, all 3 universities have seen very significant growth. At UMKC, Chancellor Agrawal worked closely with the Sunderland Foundation and the Hall Foundation to receive funding for the University Health Sciences District project. And at Mizzou, the increase compared to last year is due to the generosity of Rich Kinder to support the Kinder Institute. The last slide talks about the new leadership appointments. With the departure of Marshall Stewart, Chad Higgins has taken on the role of the interim vice chancellor for extension and engagement. Catherine Rimpf is the new dean of the Honors College at Mizzou. David Borak is the new dean at Missouri S&T for engineering. Kamal Kayat served as the interim vice chancellor. He's now a permanent vice chancellor, helping to grow the research at S&T. Wayne Jones is an associate vice chancellor for institutional effectiveness and will use data-informed approaches so that the university can advance the mission. And at UMSL, University of Missouri St. Louis, Steve Berberich The interim provost has now been appointed as permanent provost. And if any of these members are here, if I can ask you to stand. Very good. Thank you. We look forward to your leadership. That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions or comments?
Dr. Choi,
Yes.
I would just like to recognize you and your staff that's doing so much work down in Jefferson City. And the increase in funding is important to us. And our task is to make sure that the money is spent well, the taxpayers' money. But it's your hard work, Dusty Sneeders and your leadership team, that has made these increases possible. And you're well received down in Jeff City, and accolades to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any others? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, President Choi, for your presentation. Our first action item this morning is to approve the Board Executive Committee and Standing Committee appointments for 2023. May I have a motion and a second from the board to approve these appointments as outlined in your materials?
So moved.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. Any abstention? The motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda. Are there any questions from the board regarding the consent agenda items? Hearing none, may I have a motion and a second from the board to approve the consent agenda as presented in your materials?
I move to
Approve the consent agenda?
approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Great, thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstention? The motion carries. Thank you, Curator Graves. Curator Holloway, I now turn it over to you for the Governance, Compensation, and Human Resources Committee meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Government's Compensation and Human Resource Committee has one action item for today. And that action is, our action item is to approve the recommended board standing committee charters for 2023. Per CRR 10.050, the committee charters were developed to describe the following: the overall scope of the committees, which university position serves as the executive liaison to the committee, the responsibilities in reviewing and making recommendations to the university matters. The charters are to be reviewed by all the committee meetings and the executive liaisons annually for possible amendments presented for board approval. This year's annual review, there are 2 amendments recommended, one for the Academic, Student Affairs, Research, and Economic Development Charter, and one change to the Governance, Compensation, Human Resources Charter as described in your meeting materials. The remaining 3 board committee charters are unchanged. Are there any questions or comments regarding these charters? Seeing none, hearing none, may I have a motion and a second from the committee that the standing board committee charters be approved as presented in your materials?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You
There's
too.
3 of us. So, the committee chair refers to you, Madam Chairman. This matters the board chair to consideration of the full board on behalf of the government's committee.
Great. I want to say, well, let me finish the motion. A motion is made to approve the board standing committee charters as presented. Do I have a second from the board?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll offer one. Thank you. I know you really diligently got that out to all the committee chairs, and everybody did a hard review, so thank you for that,
I
Curator
believe they
Holloway.
did, yes.
Okay. If no other comments, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Curator Holloway.
Thank you.
Curator Graves, I now turn it over to you for the Finance Committee meeting.
All right. Good morning. The Finance Committee has 7 action items today. The first action item is the financial performance targets of the University of Missouri. Executive Vice President Ryan Rapp will present the university's 5-year financial plan and financial targets.
Thank you, Curator Graves. I just want to remind the board that the financial planning process is iterative, and it comes before the board each year at this time. Just to remind everyone, as we think about financial accountability and performance that's outlined in our CRR, we are seeking approval of the financial targets that are established. And how do we come to those? Well, one is we look at what the historical financial performance and wealth of each of the individual universities in MU Healthcare, along with the entire system. Where has that performed historically? Then we look at peer comparisons and looking at that closely. We also then look at, what would be a hypothetical credit rating for each unit, then overall, what is our credit rating? The targets are really intended to ensure that the overall financial wealth and health of the university is maintained. One of the things outlined in the CRR is the decision to draw on wealth should be intentional and is really something that the board and president should approve. Secondarily, it's also intended to ensure that each unit is performing at an acceptable level, and then it outlines steps that would be taken if there is continual underperformance to those targets. This just is to set in context of what we use the financial plan for and what it is and what it isn't. It does then lead into our budgeting process. It is really intended to ensure that the strategic plans are reasonable and the level or the assumptions that are in those plans support the ability to financially underwrite both the strategic investments and spending. The other thing it forces is prioritization of those strategic plans and initiatives. On this chart, we're just showing you what the recommended financial performance targets are. We look at the operating margins. That's really a reflection of the ability of each of the management teams and the overall system to manage revenues in line with expenses. What can move the margins up and down beyond what I discussed is, the amount of desired capital investment each have. With less capital investment, you need less margin to make those investments. Spendable cash to operations is really looking at our reserves in relative size to the expenditure base and provides operating flexibility. The spendable cash to debt and debt service coverage are really a measure of what our capacity for debt is and then what the affordability is. We are recommending that they remain unchanged for this year. We consulted with our financial advisors on this, and I think a lot of that's driven by there's quite a bit of noise in the financials when we compare to peers, as a lot of the money that flowed in from the federal government to the pandemic. I suspect this fall we'll probably do a deeper dive, and next year I would anticipate that some of these targets will move. And then just some of the key themes that were included in the materials. I think with the pandemic relief funds and even some of the things you saw in the president's report this morning for our 4 universities, it's definitely built capacity to make some investments over the next couple of years. That being said, enrollment growth, or at least sustaining our current enrollment levels, are key. 3 of our 4 universities, growth is in the plan. The enrollment growth in those plans really support recurring expense growth. If that growth isn't realized, we'll have to adjust for that. Noting for UMSL, though, the growth is actually needed to support the current expenditure base. So if that growth's not realized, we'll have to make adjustments to the expenditure base. I know we were asked at the last meeting to kind of pressure test enrollment and looking at, if you want to call it risk or blue sky, in the plan relative to historical enrollment trends. What does that represent? For MU, I think we noted it was approximately 22 million. UMKC, it was 63 million. S&T was 47 million, and UMSL was 42 million. So that's over the 5-year plan, the difference in the enrollment we're projecting to what it has historically been. The plans do include record amounts of capital support, as you noted in the president's presentation from both the state, federal government, and donors. In April, we will be bringing a detailed capital plan to the board for approval that will outline specifically what we will intend to do. And then for MU Healthcare, I think like all healthcare entities right now, they have some near-term acute financial challenges, but are committed to improving and meeting the FY23 and FY24 financial targets that are included in the plan. To do so, it's going to require a continued focus on revenue growth, cost management, and capital prioritization. The plans for MU Healthcare do not incorporate the Medical Alliance. We then go to the next chart. This is just providing an overview of the consolidated plan. We have a plan that will achieve our overall financial targets, but the key to any plan is execution. Actual results are provided to the board on a quarterly basis and then reviewed annually in the fall as part of our financial status report. As far as our next steps, if the board were to approve these plans, we would then bring forward a budget update in April, along with a update in terms of our debt capacity and capital plan approval. In May, we would have a meeting to approve tuition and fees, and then the board would look to approve the budget for FY24 at the June meeting. Again, I think that the key to all of this is we have good plans in place, but we will then have to execute against those plans and adjust as changes come in. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Ryan, I have a comment. In your presentation, you mentioned the healthcare, the challenges the healthcare industry has. And we are subject to those, our MU Healthcare is subject to those challenges like hospitals all across the nation. And I just want to bring it to the attention, I've been serving on the Health Affairs Committee for the past couple of years, and there's a lot going on in the healthcare industry. And your comment on the executive recap is that it's important for the healthcare, our healthcare portion business to preserve cash and to be careful with it. Did I misread that? Or?
Yeah, no, I think, we're currently below our target. We have a plan over the next 5 years to get there. We've also established a floor. If we fall below that floor, that there would be additional measures taken to improve upon that. And that is the intent of the CRR as well. It's not intended that you have to hit the target each year, but you need to be performing in range, and then there's a floor if you go below that would trigger other action.
And we're doing our best to turn this around.
Correct.
COVID had a lot to do with the pandemic and other things, but in general, without COVID, without the pandemic, the healthcare industry nationwide is under duress.
Yeah, you've got rising labor costs and reimbursement rates.
Many things.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, may I have a motion?
Curator Todd, I have a quick question. Again, following up on Curator Holloway, when I looked at the 5-year projections of healthcare and the last 2 years' performance, though at the end of 5 years you're going to hit your projections on return and days cash, but we haven't done it in the last 2 years, and for the next 5 we're going to be below. Why have we set the standards at a level that we're predicting we're not going to hit?
I think we are predicting that we will get there over a 5-year period, but it's going to take some time to rebuild that wealth. And again, I think this fall we'll revisit. Does that continue to make sense? What we've established is 150 days as the floor.
Okay. But if you're not in years 23, 24, hitting the targets of 23, 24, are we going to look to lower this expectation, or are we going to make other changes to hit the expectation?
Not necessarily. I think that's if we were to fall below 150 days, we would look to move faster in terms of a turnaround plan, and there would be communication with both the president and board as to what actions would be necessary to get us back to 150 days.
So what I'm hearing you saying then, if we don't meet these expectations, you may, with the president, be coming back to this board and asking to take actions to turn this around somehow?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, may I have a motion, a second from the committee to approve the financial performance targets for the University of Missouri, University of Missouri Columbia, University of Missouri Kansas City, Missouri University of Science and Technology, University of Missouri St. Louis, and MU Healthcare be approved as outlined in the materials.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor on the committee signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? The committee chair refers the matter to the board chair for consideration. On behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to recommend to the full board that the financial performance targets for the University of Missouri-Columbia, University of Missouri-Kansas City, Missouri University of Science and Technology, University of Missouri-St. Louis, and MU Healthcare be approved as outlined in the materials.
Thank you, Curator Graves. A motion is made to approve the fiscal year of 2023 five-year financial plan and recommended financial performance targets. Do I have a second from the board?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
All right, Executive Vice President Rapp will present the MU project approval for the National Swine Resource and Research Center addition.
Thank you, Curator Graves. I'll go through these. For the ones that were included in the capital plan and being delivered as design bid build, which is our preferred method of delivery for construction projects. In our policy, I'll be brief. This is an $8 million project. It's funded by an NIH grant. Again, it was included in the capital plan that was approved in September, but I'd be happy to answer any questions any members of the board might have.
Are there any questions for Ryan? Okay, if there's no further discussion, may I have a motion second for the committee to approve the National Swine Resource and Research Center addition project for the University of Missouri-Columbia campus as outlined in the materials?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Madam Chairman, on behalf of the Finance Committee, we move to recommend to the full board that the National Swine Resource and Research Center addition project for the University of Missouri-Columbia campus as outlined in the materials for this meeting be approved.
Thank you. A motion is made to approve the project for the National Swine Resource and Research Center addition at MU. Do I have a second from the board?
Second.
Thank you, Curator Birdsick. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Curator
All right.
Graves.
All right, third project, Executive Vice President Rapp will present the MU project approval for the Thompson Center new building.
Thank you, Curator Graves. This was included in the capital plan as well. It's the Thompson Center for Autism and Neurodevelopment. It will allow for them to, currently they're located in 2 facilities, and over a 3-year time period would allow for them to consolidate to 1. The delivery method that we're recommending is construction manager at risk. And it's really driven by the fact that this is being funded in part by the ARPA funds that we received from the state. We have a December 24 deadline to have those under contract and a deadline of December of 2026 to have the funds fully expended. So our decision was we didn't want to put that at risk. Could we have gone with design bid build as the delivery method? Possibly, but when evaluating this, we felt like the most likely way to ensure that we were able to spend the funds in the time frame defined would be to go with construction manager at risk. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I just want to offer a comment. I think this is such an interesting project, having a foundation, ARPA funds, university. It's a good example of great partnerships working together.
All right, if there's no further discussion, may I have a motion and a second from the committee to approve the Thompson Center new building project for the University of Missouri-Columbia campus as outlined in the materials for the meeting?
So moved.
But it has to be through in the committee.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor on the committee signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. That's true. Any abstentions? Excuse me. Madam Chairman, on behalf of the Finance Committee, we move to recommend to the full board that the Thompson Center new building project for the University of Missouri-Columbia campus, as outlined in the materials for this meeting, be approved.
Thank you, Curator Graves. A motion is made to approve the project for the Thompson Center new building at MU. Do I have a second from the board? Curator Holloway, you should do this.
I already do mine.
Is that a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Any abstention? Motion carries. Care to Graves.
All right, number 4, project approval. Executive Vice President Rapp will present the MU project approval for the Middlebush Farm Next Gen Center for Influenza Research, Phase 2 addition.
This again was included in the capital plan that was approved in September. It's a $7.5 million project. As when President Choi was going over the federal earmarks, this would be funded by a HRSA grant that was provided through Senator Blunt's efforts. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? All right, if there's no further discussion, may I have a motion and second from the committee to approve the Middlebush Farm Next Gen Center for Influenza Research Phase 2 addition project for the University of Missouri Columbia campus as outlined in the materials for this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor on the committee signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? All right. Madam Chairman, on behalf of the Finance Committee, we move to recommend to the full board that the Middlebush Farm Next Gen Center for Influenza Research Phase 2 addition project for the University of Missouri Columbia campus as outlined in the materials for this meeting be approved.
Thank you. A motion is made to approve the project for the Middlebush Farm. Do I have a second from the board?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Any abstention? Motion carries. Care to Graves.
All right, number 5, Executive Vice President Rapp will present the MU project approval for the South Farm Swine Research and Education Facility addition.
So similar to the previous project, this was again in the capital plan. It will be funded. It's a $5 million project. It will be funded as part of the federal earmarks we received through a HRSA grant and be delivered design, bid, build. Any questions?
All right, if there's no further discussion, may I have a motion second from the committee to approve the South Farm Swine Research and Education Facility addition project at the University of Missouri Columbia campus as outlined in the materials?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second it's been moved and second. All those in favor on the committee signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Are there any abstentions? All right, the committee chair, Madam Chairman, on behalf of the Finance Committee, we move to recommend to the full board that the South Farm Swine Research and Education Facility addition project at the University of Missouri Columbia campus as outlined in the materials for this meeting be approved.
A motion is made to approve the project for the South Farm Swine Research and Education Facility addition at MU. Do I have a second from the board?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Care to Graves.
All right, number 6, Executive Vice President Rapp will present the UMKC project approval for the Healthcare Innovation and Delivery Building.
I think the president touched on this in his remarks. It has been the top priority project for UMKC. It's a $120 million project that we're proposing today. 80 million of that would be funded from state appropriations, with 40 million from gifts that UMKC has raised towards the project. This carries the same requirements that I referenced earlier with the Thompson Center on the state funding. We have to have it under contract by December of 2024, and we have to have the funds expended by December of 2026. This is a very exciting project. I view it as one of, as the chancellor's noted, anchor projects for the Health Science District in Kansas City. We may be coming back to the board in April for reapproval if we have additional partners who have identified that they would want to have space included in this building. But myself or the chancellor are happy to answer any questions you might have.
Well, I'd like to congratulate Chancellor Agarwal. This is the professional schools in Kansas City, in the dental school, the medical school, the pharmacy school are a real jewel for the University of Missouri Kansas City and for that entire region. So congratulations.
That's right. That's very good.
I would like to again emphasize, Ryan, that this is against policy of the university and our delivery method.
No, it's not against policy.
It's a change of policy. It's an exception to policy.
Our policy outlines that short of the circumstances short of anything related to a condensed schedule, funding requirements, design, bid, build will be the delivery method.
Correct, and it's also my understanding in consultation with your staff that there'll be, though it's hard to say what the additional price is, it will be, the belief is that this delivery method is more expensive than traditional design bid build.
Yes, but does deliver it on a faster schedule.
But it does deliver it on a faster. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I just would thank Chancellor Agrawal and his team for the amount of philanthropy that they've secured for this project. It really stands out.
All right, if there's no further discussion, may I have a motion second for the committee to approve the Healthcare Innovation and Delivery Building Project on the University of Missouri Kansas City Health Science Campus as outlined in the materials?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor on the committee signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Madam Chairman, on behalf of the Finance Committee, we move to recommend to the full board that the Healthcare Innovation and Delivery Building Project on the University of Missouri Kansas City Health Science Campus, as outlined in the materials for this meeting, be approved.
A motion is made to approve the project for the Healthcare Innovation and Delivery Building at UMKC. Do I have a second from the board?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstention? Motion carries.
Okay, we're getting there. Number 7, project approval. Executive Vice President Rapp will present the MU project approval for the electric interconnection and substation.
Thank you, Curator Graves. We will, just to clarify, we're just seeking approval today for the AE hire. We would bring this back to the board for project approval when a funding plan is identified. It's a $42 million project. This will allow us to continue to move forward with our planning. The project would put a new 80-megawatt electric transmission intertie with the city of Columbia to the MU campus. And as we think about this, reliable electricity really is essential to the operation of the MU campus, also with our research infrastructure, with the hospital. We currently have a 40-megawatt intertie that was installed 27 years ago when our peak electrical demand was 34 megawatts. Our current electrical demand surpassed 40 megawatts in '23. Right now, our peak demand is 48 megawatts, and is forecasted to exceed 50 by 2028. And I think the risk we run in not moving forward with a project is we could be in a position where we couldn't fully power the campus if we had an issue with the power plant. We did visit, I didn't visit, but our team did visit North Carolina State, and they had a similar problem with this. And this is one of those things, it's an infrastructure project. There's nothing exciting about it, but it's one of those things when we have a problem with it, everybody will know about it.
Okay, and what are you asking us to approve again? If it's
Just the hiring of the architectural and engineering firm to help us further develop the plan, and then we would come back for project approval at a later meeting.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, may I have a motion to approve the hiring of the architectural and engineering firm for the electric interconnection substation project on the University of Missouri Columbia campus as outlined in the materials for this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those on the committee in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Madam Chairman, on behalf of the Finance Committee, we move to recommend to the full board the hiring of the, engineering and, what else? Roger?
Architectural and engineering.
Architectural engineering for the electrical interconnection substation project on the University of Missouri Columbia campus outlined in the materials for this meeting. Be approved.
Thank you. A motion is made to approve the architect engineering hire for the electric interconnection and substation at MU. Do I have a second from the board?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. I have just one question. Is this not part and parcel? We have to have this if we're going to continue to grow. Am I?
Correct.
It's just
Correct.
that simple, is
Yeah.
it not? Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Curator Graves and Vice President Rapp for such an informative presentation. Okay, switching to the Health Affairs Committee. It met on February 2nd. There were 3 information items and 1 action item. Dr. Rick Barron will present a summary of the presentations for us this morning. And from these reports, you will see the continued accomplishment and opportunities for MU Healthcare, the School of Medicine, and NextGen. Dr. Barron.
Thank you, Curator Winokur, and thank you, Curators. I'm pleased to have this opportunity to give you an update on the School of Medicine, MU Healthcare, and NextGen. So as we continue to expand our school's research program, we have instituted some research leadership changes. Dr. Bill Fay stepped down as the Senior Associate Dean of Research effective January 1st, 2023, and I would like to thank Bill for his exemplary service, which began under Dean De La Fontaine. So I'm delighted to welcome Scott Rector, who I have appointed as the interim Senior Associate Dean until our search for a permanent SADR is completed. The search for the new SADR is in the final stages, and I look forward to announcing that appointment soon. We anticipate that the new SADR will join us this summer, and I am so grateful that Dr. Rector will serve until then. We have several other important searches that are continuing, as you know, and we will have additional announcements soon. So in order to accommodate the remarkable increase in research activity, particularly coming from new hires, you are all well aware that we need more laboratory space. So first of all, I want to thank the board for approving two important projects that I want to touch on today. The first is the Medical Science Building, which dates from the 1950s and needs major renovation. The $51 million project will upgrade the entire building for HVAC, air exchange, and will install needed IT technology to bring it up to 2023 standards. One of the most exciting parts of the renovation is that it will allow us to increase the number of scientists in the building from 45 to approximately 58. It will be very modern, highly desirable space comparable to the space in the Roy Blunt NextGen Precision Health Building. And the second update is in the NextGen building with the build out of the fourth floor. Adding this brand new laboratory space will accommodate 15 new investigators, bringing the total number of laboratory investigators to 60. These researchers and their teams are working together to make our goals for expanding precision medicine and gaining even greater research success and national recognition for our contributions to science from the state of Missouri. Now, with all these new construction and renovations that I've outlined, this will necessitate temporary and sometime permanent moves for our faculty and our teams. In preparation, with your support, we are renovating and repurposing some of our current space to accommodate these needs, as outlined on this slide. And we are trying very hard, and we will make these moves for our individuals and departments minimally disruptive as they continue their important work. So progress continues on the new Children's Hospital, as can be seen from these slides. The image on the far right shows the very narrow gap that exists now between the existing hospital and the new Children's Hospital, and we are now ready to connect the two structures physically. This will cause some noise disruptions, which we are mitigating as much as possible, but it's a very exciting time in the evolution of the Children's Hospital Tower. And on the same theme, on January 18th, we had an exciting topping off ceremony for the new hospital. The highlight of the event occurred when the Williams family explained how much the Children's Hospital has meant to their family. Max, seen here giving me the high five, was born premature at 25 weeks and spent 3 months in our neonatal intensive care unit. That experience has shaped how his parents, Mark and Alana, who spoke at the event, and both of whom are MU Healthcare employees, approach their roles in caring for patients. This is one story among so many that highlight the extraordinary care that we provide for these youngest patients and their families. We've already heard some about the Thompson Center during Mr. Rapp's presentation, and I have been updating you about renovations and build-outs on the main campus, and at the Thompson Center for Autism and Neurodevelopment, we have both of these happening. We had a ribbon-cutting ceremony for the completion of renovation project that expands the therapy clinic space And this is needed to accommodate our very pressing current needs for patients and families that are seeking care for autism and related disorders. And you also heard from Mr. Rapp about the exciting new building plans for what will be a new facility for the Thompson Center. I am confident that this center's work will continue to gain national attention in the area of autism, and that we will really be beacons in the country for the treatment and research into autism and related disorders. So at last week's Health Affairs Committee, Dean Lori Popejoy of the Sinclair School of Nursing gave an update, and I wanted to summarize a couple of things that she mentioned and to add one more. The School of Nursing recently was notified that they are one of only 19 projects that were funded out of 138 applications to the Missouri Department of Economic Development. The Sinclair School of Nursing will partner with MU Healthcare to educate and train and employ 300 pre-nursing students as unlicensed assistant personnel, that's also called certified nurse assistants. This will have direct impact on nursing education and the workforce shortage. So I'm very excited about this new collaboration with the School of Nursing. I want to highlight another topic that Dean Popejoy shared. There is close collaboration among the School of Medicine and MU Healthcare and Sinclair School of Nursing and MU's extension program to address and train clinical research of advanced practice registered nurses, APRNs. These clinicians are particularly vital in rural communities, and they offer communities high-quality primary care that couples them with overseeing physician and linkage to the vast array of clinical services at our campus and Boone County clinic sites. So we work very closely with Extension, and working with Extension provides the community engagement that is essential for our success of these practices. And we're delighted to be partnering with Chad Higgins in this role. Dr. Higgins is quick to remind us that this effort is breaking new ground. There are no other extension programs working the way we are at Mizzou to leverage our extension program and our faculty with commitment to delivering clinical care, especially in rural and underserved areas of the state. Now I'll move on to MU Healthcare financial update. This slide encapsulates some of the very positive numbers that we are seeing at MU Healthcare. We continue to be a very, very busy provider of services. As you can see from this slide, our hospital discharges and clinic visits are both up, and our days in accounts receivable, or AR, are down. So this is all very good news. And this final slide shows our recent financial performance. So after a slow start for the first quarter, we now have good operating margins, and if we continue on this path, we project an end-of-the-year fiscal year margin in the range of $45 million. Our biggest challenge continues to be on the expense side, with the high cost for agency or so-called travelers healthcare providers. But despite this challenge, we remain in positive operating territory, whereas Kaufman Hall has reported that more than half of the hospitals in the United States are currently in negative margin. So that concludes my report, Curator Winokur, and I'll be glad to take any questions.
Questions, please jump in.
Rick, I have a couple comments or questions maybe you could address. I commend you on the change of the financial position of the hospital from the beginning of the year, even the last quarter. I think you picked up some $20 million in operating budget. But here's my concern. I understand your operating budget is a positive side right now, but your change in net assets is still down $5 million. And even your own projections through the end of the year, if you hit your $44 million operating budget, your total change in net assets is only going to be to the positive $22 million, which is commendable given where the year started. It truly is. However, it's still concerning given everything else I'm reading, what the hospital wants to do and healthcare wants to do. And I am just concerned moving forward, both on the days cash on hand and then the change in net assets to the university and meeting what appears to me to be an aggressive plan over the next few years. And I just, I want to enter this thing with some caution, because if we don't meet the operation numbers and we don't meet the change in net cash that we need to have, it has huge effects on other sides of this facilities and this university. So I want to stress that again.
I share your concerns, Curator, and it's, we are doing everything we can to continue in this positive trend. In our current 5-year plan, we are anticipating getting back to the operating margins that we were receiving 2 years ago. And I am confident that with the aggressive changes that we are making with our new leadership team in the hospital, that we will be able to do this. Everything is on the table. Some of the support that we have been given to programs across the health spectrum, we are looking at very closely so that we can retain our capital. And we're looking at everything right now.
Thank you, sir.
I'll just offer a comment that seems to be my mode today. I like that school nursing, medicine, and extension, when you all do work like that, it shows that we're using our resources and our people well, and I think that's a great example of the kinds of work that President Choi and Dusty Schneiders can highlight to our legislature. So kudos to all three of you for finding new ways to serve our state.
I appreciate that, Curator Winokur.
Other questions or comments? Okay.
Well, thank you all very much.
Now, thank you, Dr. Barron. The only action of the Health Affairs Committee was to approve minutes of the November 10th meeting, which were unanimously approved by the committee last Thursday. This concludes the business of the Health Affairs Committee. Curator Lehman, I now turn it over to you for the Academic, Student Affairs, Research, and Economic Development Committee meeting.
Thank you. Good morning. The committee has one information item, the MU Intercollegiate Athletics Report, and one action item, an amendment to the MU faculty bylaws. We'll begin with the information item. These annual reports are required pursuant to CRR 270.060. This report will give us a high-level overview of our athletic programs. Today, MU Athletic Director Desiree Reed-Francois and her colleagues have come to walk us through this report and answer any questions. Desiree, please begin.
Thank you very much, Curator Lehman. Thank you all very much for having me. I appreciate it very much, and I look forward to going through this report for fiscal year 2022. This year was very much, and these are the 10 items that we'll go through. Fiscal year 22 was very much a foundational year. We wanted to build a strong foundation so that way we would be poised for future success, not only in the short term, but in the long term as well. I'm sorry if my voice cracks a little bit, but one day off back surgery. But I'm not on pain meds, but Curator Hobrock, I truly hope that we're not going to have a massive cross-examination. No, I'm just kidding.
You've been warned.
As I said, this past year, our top priorities were to assess the department, identify opportunities for growth, and then really begin building a foundation for future success. As you're aware, we sponsor 20 sports, 11 female sports, 9 men's sports. This is our participation rates as is required by the CC&Rs. Our budget is one that we saw a lot of growth. Now, from fiscal year 21 to fiscal year 2022, I would caution you that the growth looks exceptional. However, fiscal year 21 was also the COVID year, so I'm also looking forward to next year's fiscal report because this year we're also seeing great growth as well. We saw ticket sales grow by 292%, or a $10.4 million increase. Fundraising was up 20%, roughly $5 million. And we also had, we were very fortunate to receive additional out-of-state fee waivers. And campus, we were able to borrow money to be able to balance the budget for fiscal year 21. In terms of expenses, we saw team travel costs increase by 49%, or roughly $3 million compared to fiscal year '21. But again, because of the COVID shortened seasons, that number is a bit inflated for future years. We will have, however, see inflation impacting our budget in fiscal year '23 as well. Now, I'm really excited to share with you some of our academic highlights. We have seen historic academic achievements by our student athletes. We had our highest in fall of '21. We had, at that time, our highest GPA in the history of Mizzou athletics at 3.21. Next year, I'll give the punchline, but next year, this fall of 2022, we also had our largest increase in academic success as well. We had 313 student athletes on the SEC honor roll. We had 423 on the dean's list. So academically, our student athletes are excelling in the classroom. And going back to that, you may wonder why? Why are we succeeding? Curator Winokur asked that really important question, and it caused us to really reflect and really think about that. And it's really a myriad of several things. One, our academic support and our counselors. We're very appreciative for their tireless work. Also, our coaches are bringing in student athletes that are academically prepared. And the third reason, and a differentiator, was the Alston process. And I say process because what we did after the Supreme Court allowed us to be able to provide academic awards, instead of just giving out $6,000, what we did was we made sure that student athletes earned it. And so we tiered it. So if you have between under a 3.0, you get X dollars. 3.0 to 3.5, you get Y dollars. 3.5 and above, you get the most. And you know what? Our student athletes, they rose to the occasion. So I'm very proud of the work they've done in the classroom. Sorry. All of our programs are above the NCAA threshold. 15 teams matched or improved their APR over the last public release in 2018. Football had its highest APR in the 18-year history. We posted an 86 in the graduation success metric, which was up 1 point from the prior year. And student athlete development. Again, as I said, this year was very much a foundational year, very much building that platform for that championship success. Student athlete development highlights mental health was something we were really focused on. We wanted to make sure that we had staffing to be able to support our student athletes coming out of COVID. We hired 3 new staff members in mental health. We hired 2 new staff members in nutrition. And we really opened up lines of communication in fiscal year '21 for our student athletes to tell us what's on their mind. And then that way we can be responsive. Name, image, and likeness. This was a huge shift, not only here at Mizzou, but throughout our entire industry. And we're proud of the way that Mizzou athletics and really our entire state responded. Our Senate Bill 718 was signed into law by Governor Parson, and that allowed us to be able to have some more flexibility in terms of providing for our student athletes, providing them not only with the education, which is critically important. Now we have 550 entrepreneurs, but also being able to provide opportunities for them to go out and help them achieve their name, image, and likeness expectations. We've been very diligent in our diversity, equity, and inclusion program. We've traveled to St. Louis and Kansas City to provide for the Mizzou Youth Experience. We have monthly diversity, equity, and inclusion meetings with the SEC. We have several programs that were in place before I got here, but continue to flourish. And we have 12 student athletes and 4 staff members attend the Black Student Athlete Summit in May of '22. Compliance and rules education. And I have Will Cava here with me in case I miss anything. But Will came in February. Actually, it's been 1 year now, right?
1 year and 2 days.
1 year and 2 days. Excellent. We haven't scared you off yet? Oh, no, just kidding. Education and monitoring were identified as opportunities for growth. We wanted to systematically look at our entire compliance program and make sure that we were providing education, but our monitoring and our systems were up to where they needed to be. Will identified that our education needed to be a bit more robust, and he has implemented an exceptional compliance program that really meets people where they are. Outreach and engagement. So we do a lot of surveys in athletics, and we read them all. We did over 25,000 fan surveys. One thing we heard from this board is you wanted to see Mizzou Arena packed again. You wanted to see Faurot Field just charged with electricity. We heard you. We know how important athletics can be as the front porch, if you will, to the overall university. But we had to listen to our people. And so we did, like I said, we did 25,000 fan surveys, and these were some of the results from those surveys, but we also went out on a caravan. And we went through 25 stops. We did over 70, I think we met 7,500 people, traveled 7,309 miles, and because we wanted to get to people where they were, and it was wonderful. We were able, and this was actually, moving the student section to one centralized area was a result of talking with our students. That was something that was very important to them. Our students are incredible, as you all know. They bring this energy, this vibrancy, and if you have your students, then all of a sudden energy attracts energy. That was a high priority for us. So we moved our student section. We also moved our visiting team fans away from the 50-yard line. And that was actually, probably should thank my colleagues on Rocky Top, because I remember looking out in one of my first SEC games, and I looked out from where I was standing, and all I could see was orange on the 50-yard line. And I thought, you know what? That's an opportunity for growth. I want to see black and gold on the 50-yard line. So we reviewed the rules, and we were able to move our colleagues that come and play and visit Faurot Field to a different location, similar to how we were treated on the road as well. We tried several innovations. We had mobile ordering and locker pickup systems. We improved our tailgate areas. We revamped the pregame show, and we really wanted to try less commercialization. So it's a work in progress, and every year we hope that our fans, when they come back, they see something new that we've improved, and we're always going to listen. And I hear you on Wi-Fi. Like I mentioned, community outreach and engagement is critically important. We've got to galvanize it. We've got to bring people back together. We've got to galvanize them. And I mentioned the Come Home tour. We also started Tiger Tuesdays, where every Tuesday we went out in the community to do a community service project. And then we did Black and Gold Fridays, and people would tweet in their pictures. And it was just all about creating momentum, creating engagement. 21-22 saw the most student all-sport passes sold since 2016. We added a 7th home game. That was a 6-team trade, if you will. And we also started a new tradition where we would move our opening football game to Thursday nights. That way we're the only game on, right? And we also, one thing we heard on the caravan is that people missed seeing the high school basketball championships. They missed them in Columbia. And so we worked together with Misha, and we were able to bring back the basketball championships to Columbia for the first time since 2017. Several of our athletic highlights in 21-22. Keegan O'Toole. We were in the middle of the basketball search, and I'll never forget being able to drive from Cleveland to Detroit to be able to witness Keegan O'Toole winning the national championship. And he won it on a bum ankle, and it was just the most special thing to see the joy in his face, to see the pride in his parents' eyes when they saw him. I was so blessed to have been there. Gymnastics, top 8 finish, and 6 teams qualified for postseason. And we had 3 conference champions in Keegan, Roberto, and Mitch. We had 33 All-SEC performers and 18 All-Americans. 2 of our coaches won Coaches of the Year, Brian Smith and Shannon Welker. And we had 2 new head coaches hired, Dennis Gates and Caroline Westrup. And Caroline, you might have heard that basketball is doing pretty well. And Caroline, she just had her first competition, and she finished top 3. So she's also on a great trajectory. We also broke ground on Stevens Indoor Practice Facility. So it was a very busy first year. I thank you all for the privilege of serving as your athletic director, and we're going to continue to work hard to make you proud. Any questions?
I have a comment, not a question.
Oh, no.
This is not a cross-examination. I want to compliment you and your staff on improving the game day experience. I know that is a subject you and I have had numerous conversations about. The excitement to see the stadium full, the excitement to see the arena full. Now, I understand we're getting some help from the coaches on the quality of going on the field. That's not what it's all about. It's about the excitement you're creating in that arena and the enjoyment to come back. 2 years ago, I couldn't give a basketball ticket away. This year, I have people calling me wanting my basketball tickets, so thank you very much. And on top of that, I want to compliment you on the change of financial trajectory of the athletic department. Yes, last year was great, but as Will will tell you, I follow your ticket sales and your expenses, and I'm here prepared to tell the board that the next year's financial statements are going to be more impressive. And I want to compliment you and your staff on the work that's been done.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate that. And we have a great staff. I'm very blessed to work with the fine people that I do, with our coaches, we have an incredible president that provides leadership and support, and I'm very thankful to work with each of you. So thank you.
Desiree, I want to compliment you also. I think you've done a tremendous job engaging the whole state, getting the students to all the games, and the fans are coming back. And it's just, I feel like you've taken a fresh look at the entire department and made a lot of improvements.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Ditto what they said.
Thank you.
Your team is doing outstanding work.
Thank you.
That football stadium and the basketball arena are electric. It's night and day from the last few years, like Greg said. Thank you very much. Keep it up. Now, you're setting that bar pretty high, so keep going, and you got to reach it each year. There you go. Greg and all y'all, thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
So can I offer a comment? So as we wrap up this year, you came a year ago, or actually maybe a little over a year ago in November in St. Louis. We've changed this to being on the correct university for each of our athletic directors. When you think about being here a year from now, what do you hope will change? I mean, I know you always have goals that you're working for. It was fan experience. It was getting the stands full, hiring certain coaching positions. What do you see for the next 12 months?
Well, we have a strategic roadmap that I presented last time at the board meeting. And so that articulates our priorities. We're always going to have a focus on the holistic student-athlete experience. That's it. We can never not put enough attention on that space. These are someone's sons and daughters, and we owe it to them. We're always going to look at recruiting and retaining the most quality coaches that are going to make Mizzou proud. That will never change. Our facilities, we have some opportunities there. We need to look at our deferred maintenance. We need to look into the future and see what comes next in that respective space. We need to look at we can never take our fans for granted, right? We're up 52% in men's basketball attendance. We're up in women's basketball. We led the Southeastern Conference this year in attendance growth in football, but we're never going to take that for granted. So we're always going to continue to assess that game day and make sure that it's vibrant, make sure that it's fun. We want football. We want our events to be fun. So it all starts and ends with our people. So we're going to continuously assess those. We're going to make sure our business model is the right business model. We're going to make sure that we want to look at the branding piece and see how we're doing. Is it penetrating? Let's really take a deep dive. Analytics is very important to us. Continuing to make decisions that are analytically sound and that have the facts to support, critically important. And then finally, one thing that career development is, and not just putting on a program, a meaningful career program that has a project CEO where student athletes, we can meet them where they're at. They can trail a CEO. They can go and we can go and do a satellite, we can go to Springfield and do a satellite career fair. We can go to St. Louis and go to Kansas City. Those are going to be really important. And then the final piece on the holistic student-athlete development space is we want to make sure that mental performance, which is different than mental health, that's the next space, if you will.
Great, thank you. Really
problem.
appreciate that.
Desiree, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Our last agenda item is a proposal to amend CRR 300.010, Faculty Bylaws of the University of Missouri-Columbia. Dr. John Middleton, Chief of Staff and Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs, will discuss the revisions, and Graham McCauley, Associate Extension Professor and Chair of the MU Faculty Council, is available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Curator Lehman. In 2021, the Faculty Council revised their bylaws to be more inclusive of non-tenure track faculty. Today's revision includes some clarification points with regard to the membership of non-tenure track faculty on the Faculty Council. So language was modified to include extension field faculty and librarians as members of the MU Faculty Council, consistent with the definitions for non-tenure track faculty in the collected rules. They also added language that deals with extension faculty, because some of our extension field faculty do not report to a dean, which is the way the original collected rule reads. There is a change in there that says that those extension faculty that don't report to a dean would be those that report to the Vice Chancellor of Extension, which then includes that as a unit which can have membership on the Faculty Council. And finally, they updated some minor changes to language throughout the CRR, consistent with board guidance from July 2020, and also some language that reflects Faculty Council's method of reporting actions on a public website. This was voted on by the Faculty Council and passed by a majority vote on December 15, 2022, and has also gone before the entire faculty and passed an all-faculty vote. It is now presented to the board through the President of the University of Missouri for consideration and a vote.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee or the board? If there are no further discussion, may I have a motion and a second from the committee to recommend approval of the amendments to CRR 300.010, Faculty Bylaws of the University of Missouri-Columbia?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Are there any abstentions? The motion carries. Madam Chair, on behalf of the Academic, Student Affairs, Research, and Economic Development Committee, I move to recommend to the full board that the amendment to CRR 300.010, Faculty Bylaws of the University of Missouri, Columbia, be approved.
A motion is made to approve the amendment of CRR 300.010, Faculty Bylaws of the University of Missouri-Columbia, as presented. Do I have a second from the board?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam
Curator
Chair.
Lehman.
That concludes the business of the Academic, Student Affairs, Research, and Economic Development Committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Curator Lehman. We are now scheduled for a 10-minute break. So if we break now, we should be back at 10:02.